Welcome to ESI Africa Insights. Today we are joined in studio by Emi Bertoli, who is the Energy Analyst at the IEA. Welcome, Emi.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
So to start off, let's talk a little bit about the stumbling blocks that policymakers might face when trying to reach net zero by 2050. What are they?
So actually at the IEA in 2021, we published our roadmap for the global energy sector to actually reach net zero by 2050. And actually last year in 2023, we published an update of this. So I wanted to start with some good news related to the high deployment of solar generation and production, but also we saw a huge deployment of electric vehicles and a really massive advancement in innovation. However, what we're also seeing is that there are still some stumbling blocks, including in grids. So last year we also launched a report that is looking at electricity grids and secure energy transitions. And what we found is that there are, grids are starting to become a bottleneck of transitions. There are more than 3,000 gigawatts of renewable energy projects on the queue, in the connection queue. And of course, this is posing a risk to accelerating transition to the pace and scale that we need. And at the same time, investment in grid to be able to attain climate goals would need to almost double to $600 billion by 2030. So we're really seeing there that we have massive challenges, and especially when we look at emerging economies and developing countries, if we exclude China, we saw that in the past years, actually investment reduced. And this is, of course, posing risks in terms of security, in terms of reliability of systems. And we're really seeing that there are some massive challenges there in terms of access to finance and in terms of high cost of capital. So, of course, some measures could be implemented to reduce, these challenges. Like one could be to improve the transparency, especially around cost. And at the same time, another measure would, support in specific cases the participation of the private sector as well, for example, through private and public partnerships. And of course, in all of this, one thing that has to be remembered is that moving forward, a key aspect is going to be represented also by flexibility. Systems will become more complex. And of course, there will be, a need for growing investment and focus on digitalization of these systems.
Okay, so speaking of digitalization, why is digitalization so important to fast track the energy transition and the uptake of renewable energy? And where should we start?
Yeah, so basically, this is a key element for utilities because, of course, digitalization can improve visibility, can improve controllability, and ultimately reduce cost and complexity of integrating variable renewable energy. And at the same time, these systems can also help faster integrate and better integrate distributed energy resources and distributed generation. And I know that in countries such as Brazil, India, but also here in South Africa, this is representing, a huge increase in local generation. So, of course, an area that should be, where utilities should be focusing on or can focus on. And at the same time, of course, these technologies can help reduce the length of outages, help restoration, reduce faults, etc. And just to give you a couple of examples, some estimates show that in emerging economies and developing countries, actually firms might be losing more than $1 trillion by 2030. So that's really a huge miss for economic development as well. And at the same time, some estimates also show that the cost, the generation through backup generators in emerging economies is actually sub-Saharan Africa in 2021 was even larger than the generation through renewables. and actually the cost to maintain these systems is even higher than the revenues that utilities are getting from national networks. So of course, this is a huge missed opportunities. And what we tried to do also at the IEA was to elaborate a five-point plan to actually start a smart grid and digital journey. Of course, we are aware that journeys are not linear, and you can find more information also like in one of our reports that is focusing on unlocking smart grid opportunities for emerging economies. But like to summarize these 5 points, we really believe that it is important to establish a clear vision, clear objectives, and a roadmap to get there. And of course, digitalization should have a purpose. So it is key to select the right digital tools and technologies to achieve such objectives. At the same time, the process should include, let's say, larger engagement of all stakeholders in let's say, all the processes, in getting to decision, etc. And at the same time, another key aspect is represented by data. It is important to manage data from the start, to create frameworks actually to collect and share data. Because what we saw is that, for example, only 2 to 4% of smart meter data is currently utilized. So, of course, this is an important missed opportunity again. And last but not least, it is also important to ensure that there is equity in how cost and benefits are shared, because otherwise moving forward we have risks that this being unbalanced, there might be some parts of the population which risk paying, let's say, more and getting less benefits from this transition. So of course this is also key.
And you've spoken a little bit about data and the importance of data. So how do you think stakeholders such as cities, for example, can use power system data to accelerate their decarbonization journey? And how do you think that this should be done?
And thank you for mentioning cities, because we know that especially in emerging economies, we're seeing a huge urbanization trends. So with cities representing 75% of demand consumption, energy consumption, and 70% of emissions, there is a huge potential there. And of course, data and analysis and digital can help cities to make more informed decisions at local level. They can help them to forecast demand and supply. And for example, with let's say GIS and other tools, cities can actually help identify what are the best locations and what is where distributed solar and generation can have optimal production, for example. And through the use of heat maps, cities can also identify where are the most inefficient buildings and target measures and incentives for building renovation as well. And at the same time, of course, cities are having huge challenges in terms of mobility and transport, also traffic. So data and information on these can also help let's say, reduce impacts of, for example, traffic and improve transportation, among others.
Thank you so much, Emi, for coming and sharing your insights with us here today. It's truly appreciated.
Thank you very much.
And to our viewers who are watching, this has been ESI Africa Insights. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.